Tom.
Man, what's up?
I got floors today. I never thought I'd be excited to say that, but I got
We're definitely middle-aged.
a floor in today. Yeah, I'm excited.
There's no going back if you're excited about
home
flooring. Redecorations.
Yeah, next I have to plan my trip to Applebee's, and then we'd be all set.
It's all done. Maybe a stop at BJ's on the way home.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah,
stock up.
The office habit is getting closer.
That's good though, man.
I'm excited. Yeah.
You'll never have to leave your house again.
I can never leave my house again. Yes. It's funny. I got into a conversation with somebody that asked what are the human pieces of AI that are the most impactful. And it was, I guess I should preface this by saying it was my coach, and it was in spirit of the book. And so it was intentionally a little wacky of a thought exercise. But, and I never thought of it this way, but can you imagine, like, when people talk about AI, what's the first thing that everybody talks about is job loss, right? Like
job loss. Yeah.
Right. And it was explained to me recently, like, if that's the worst thing that happens as a result of AI, then there's absolutely no problem with AI. He's like,
well, and that was the thing, right? We've talked about this forever, that technology at some point is going to replace people and make it so like work is essentially obsolete.
Sure.
And that's fearful for some people, and I'm like, no, that's fucking amazing.
Right.
None of us work. Let's not do that anymore.
Yeah. Let's just stop doing that. Yeah.
Let's just chill.
What's the cause of all this?
Hang out.
Yeah. What's the cause of all disease, all mental and physical? It's fucking chronically abusing your body. Like,
and doing things for 8 to 12 hours a day that we're not designed to do. It doesn't matter what you're doing.
Sure. Yeah. No, absolutely. And like, so the conversation went something like this. Why are you so concerned about jobs? I said, well, I'm not really concerned about jobs in a singular or small scale thing, because you're right. Like, jobs come and go all the time, right? Like, and industries come and go all the time, right? Like 5 years ago 10 years ago, there was no such thing as a gig worker now. And in 10 years from now, who knows if we're all gig workers, or maybe that's not even a thing, right? So like, and it's funny when TikTok was getting discussed to be banned in the United States, the number one TikTok pushback was that I've been told. I did not see it personally.
What was it?
But it's like, so many people have made livings off of TikTok. Like,
TikTok,
yeah. If you ban it, all these people will be out of work. And I'm like, okay, but
honestly, that's the right strategy with the U.S. government. You know what I'm saying? Like that. Like, China security, and they'll like bash China and everything. But if you go, hey, you're going to cause Americans to lose jobs, and then we won't vote for you, they get a little scared.
Right. But here's the thing, though, to this guy's point, right?
Mm-hmm.
If AI wiped out 50% of the jobs and included TikTok superstars, right? Like TikTok influencers, right? They all went away.
Yeah.
Like, would that be the worst thing in the world? Because those people would all be doing something else, right? And given the sort of Maslowian sort of nature of where we've been heading, like, one would think that checks a few more things off the list, and maybe your next go around.
Well, but I think the fear that with the replacing jobs is those people that do have, because there's so many people that have shitty jobs that they're not happy in. And
right.
Those people that do enjoy their jobs or they've got a cushy career, those are the ones that are like, I've been doing this so long, there's nothing else for me to do if this goes away. Like, honestly, man, we should probably figure out how to do this. Can we figure out a way to have AI listen to all of our shows?
Yeah.
And then literally, we don't even have to make avatars, but like, tell them to write an episode of us. And
we can do that.
How fucking crazy of an experiment would that be?
No, we should totally do that.
We should. And like, even if it's to the point where we can't get it to talk to itself or each other, per se. If we could, like, literally, like, we'll print the script out.
Like, maybe we don't air this episode till after we've done that one, so we could tell everybody we actually had this.
Hey, we did this fucking thing where we played it 50 episodes of us. We said, write an entire episode based on topics that we talk about.
Right.
And it's going to be shitty jokes and drugs.
Yeah.
But,
right.
Like, you know, at the very least, God, man, you know, we're already using it for our cover art. We're already using it for, you know, some little things to help us out with. What if it just replaced us?
Now, you imagine, right? Let's just say you and I took the 50 shows that we've done and we give them to an AI and we say, write me 20 shows on the following topics.
Yeah.
And it just wrote out 20 fucking shows for us, right? And we go in there and we sort of like proofread and edit and we launch those instead of the ones we actually did.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, and see if we can get it to be reasonably popular.
Successful.
And if it is, you're like, listen, none of that is fucking real.
But you know what I would do? I would almost do like A/B testing where we have another brand and another name and just see if like
that's so funny. Do like a voice, a pitch transition on our
it's like a modulator. And
my God,
not have the same voices,
dude. But I mean, so yeah, that exists right now, right? And so like, let's just say that all of this shit wipes half of us out.
Yeah.
The chances that we're not doing something cooler are near zero, right? Like you have to,
or at least more recreational. You know, I think the cooler is an interesting term to use there. Like, would you?
So yeah, let's qualify that for a second.
Or something different,
right.
Or
let's qualify that for a second. What I mean is, it would probably be more creative and less tactical, right? Because the tactical shit will have gone out the window, right? Like,
yeah, and we'll see it happen in the physical skills as well, quite easily.
Right. So we're not thinking that you're going to go from an accountant to data entry, right? Like if accounting goes, all forms
data entry is already gone.
Data entry is already gone, right? Like, I mean, so, you know, you figure, okay, so let's say, so you have analytical skills, right? So you probably aren't doing stress testing per se for material sciences because like a computer would still do that. But maybe you take that analytical mindset and you say, hey, how would I design a system that does X, Y, and Z, right? And maybe you're more of a designer, like an innovator, and then like you can put those into AI or other engineers and get something to work. But anyway, my point is you wouldn't become a fry cook at McDonald's likely. Which, by the way, will already be automated.
That'll be automated. You know, the tellers already are. Mm-hmm. You know, or no, not the tellers, but the cashiers.
And honestly, you take one person that just feeds assembly line inputs at a automated fast food joint. You could literally run that place with one or two people. Like cashiers are automated. All you need is basically somebody to continually pump frozen fries into a hopper that will get.
And at some point, look, you have a little robot that scoots out of the freezer when the basket's low and tops it off.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like you would have sort of specialized skill. You know, you'd have to retool a kitchen probably, but you know, it would be 100%
but it would be
automated.
so you know. And here's a good question for you, and this is kind of more like amusing because I don't think we'll know until we kind of get there. You know, it was funny because I read your buddy Tyler that we had on Tyler. I was right the first time. Don't say
no. I'm sorry. Taylor Martin. Taylor
Martin. Taylor Martin. Yeah. And basically, he was showing some studies where they were comparing, because we're going to talk about weed because it's 420 again.
Sure. Oh yeah.
Comparing naturally grown outdoor cannabis profile. You know, all the components versus grown in a grow room.
Sure.
And I mean, maybe they both use soil and they, clearly they probably both supplement the soil. Even if it's hydroponic, they're going to be supplementing with nutrients. But the profile of outdoor grown cannabis surpasses every metric of the grow room grown.
Interesting.
And it's an interesting thing. Like, what is there something natural? And where I'm going with this is, if we did that with a show, is there something that we detect that is not inherently human? You know, is it going to pass the Turing test But
Sure.
in that kind of, you know what I'm saying, environment, is there, yes, it's right contextually, grammarly, yes, it sounds like humans, but is there something still not human about it, you know?
Well, yeah, and like that was part of, actually it's funny that you should ask that, because like that was literally one of the center points of the conversation was, if you look at, if humans didn't have to work at all, what would we be doing? We'd be forming personal relationships. We would be building community. We would be probably very connected to our surroundings. So like some call that religion. Some people call it spirituality. Like we'd be connected to the greater it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, like, you know what I mean? And so, and like, what, let me see, what else would you do? You'd probably,
I would almost predict a new kind of tribalism.
well, for sure. But
Right?
creativity.
Like I don't have to do this anymore.
Right.
Here's a group of people that I gel with. Now we just kind of hang out together all the time.
Right. And like creativity was the other one that I couldn't think of. So like if people didn't have to work, they'd be creative. They would make love. They would be connected to the one consciousness. And like they would be, that would be pretty much the things they did. Right. So then we started peeling back like each one of those individuals.
Yeah.
Like, all right. So, and the thing that came out of this is like a couple things. Like we are so fucked up psychologically from COVID and from social media and isolationism that this creates, that we've talked about a ton of times. But like Leah, right? Like, you know, we looked at, we talked to her last time, and she had like, I mean, depression is fucking everywhere, right? Like it's
through the roof. Yeah.
Right. So here's the thing, like imagine
Burn out all of it. Yeah.
Imagine if you had access to an AI that basically talked to you. How, I mean, you have you ever sat down for like a 40-minute session with ChatGPT?
So I haven't gone that deep because you know, and this is a little bit too much Hollywood. You know, how many horror movies started with like, you know, hey, this technology or there's a doll, you know, and it's like, oh fuck. I mean, there was that weird one that just came out recently that like it's like a little like anime looking doll that
oh right, I know what you're talking about.
You know, and I saw the promo and I'm like, nope, I don't want to. I don't even want to watch the trailer. No, thank you.
But like, yeah. So imagine if you had an AI though that you can call up and be like, hey, Lindsay, my weird girl AI, and you could have her know everything about you. She could know everything you like, you dislike. She could work it in fluidly into conversation and like never disagree with you, never argue. Like, I mean,
but would that, I don't think that would solve our psychological issues. I just think it would further enforce them.
No, I think it might, because like, look, if you had an army of those things, like talking to you about different things and whatnot, like, I mean, you could easily emulate, like overlay 1 degree of separation into like the metaverse. And like, now you've got physical, you know what I mean? Like, this is a very quick leap.
I hear, you know, and I'm maybe I'm a little bit more pessimistic than you are. I'm leaning in on the, what would happen if somebody hacked into that? What would happen if somebody now knows that you don't want to know everything about you? What would happen if they messed with it and now you're being fed ideas that, you know, are not healthy? Like maybe you should kill yourself, you fat slob, or something like that, you know?
Right.
Or, you know, even slower, you know, where they're playing this long game and this kind of almost psyop thing where they're going to convince you that the thing you thought was right is insane.
Right.
You know?
So what I'm thinking though is that all of those things are likely going to happen. So we should just agree that they will. Right?
Okay. All right.
Digital comes with that, right? Like that is a thing. Now, what we hope though is that quantum computing provides us the security blanket to make hacking a lot harder.
Yeah.
Which it could. So like, but these things are all coming into focus like at the same time, right? Like,
yeah, we're almost I think they have to co-evolve.
We almost are at the perfect storm, right? Like quantum computing is there. We can create quantum cryptography, so we can do some really fucking advanced cryptography to protect this stuff if you're so inclined. On top of that, AI has gotten to a point where we actually have a valid springboard now. Like this is working more than proof of concept, and we're ready.
And the more it goes, the more exponentially it's going to grow. Right. Yeah.
And so when you start peeling this back, like there's almost nothing, even the pieces of humanity can eventually get sort of disturbed inside of that ecosystem because like creativity. Did you see like a guy just won a photo contest, an international photo contest with an AI, and then declined the prize, right?
Well, and I think is that the ethical thing to do there? Like,
well,
hey,
he did it for
AI.
show. He always was planning. He was always planning to turn it down as part of proof for this. So, like, literally winning just proved his point. Like, we gave this guy a fucking microphone for the rest.
We're already there. I'm just showing you.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the egg on their face. You should have the press release that those guys spun. They're like willfully went out of his way to deceive us, and I was like.
I don't even think it was
correction.
Out of his way. He was probably like, "Hey, I punched a couple of words into a keyboard."
Yeah, and that's exactly right. It's like correction. You fucking didn't ask the question. Like you didn't even occur. It didn't even occur to you. Now that's not really a bad thing, right? Like 3 months ago,
right.
we wouldn't even be having this conversation. December of last year, we wouldn't have had this conversation, right? Like it wouldn't.
No.
Right. So my point is like. We've got this whole world where now creativity, like literally one of the hallmarks of human existence, like to create, right? Nope, we don't need to be. We don't need it. We don't need it. And Grant, and people are like, yeah, but it's not good. It's whatever. And I said, yeah, but it's more than zero, and it's better than 90%. So like,
well, and does that? This is, I guess, like the next question is, do you evolve with that? Like now that we have access to that, do humans have the capacity? Now they've got more functioning RAM, if you will.
Yeah.
that they can then say, well, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
What can I invent out of that? Right?
And I think
we use it as a tool more than an actual sentient thing.
But this is the new currency, right? The people that can create those systems are the new Facebooks, the new Instagrams, right? Like those, the people
that is the disruptor in the field. Yeah. Right.
Because now you can do an AI very specific to any weird thing you want. And so I went and had a colonoscopy. This was fun.
Yeah. Oh, that was a nice transition.
Well, hold on. It comes
right
back.
At the ass.
It comes. It'll get you in the ass every time. Yeah. No, this comes right back to what we were just talking about, though, right?
Yeah.
So I have a colonoscopy, and the way it was explained to me was you can take one of these Cologuard or genetic testing tests, right, and find out, and nothing is necessary, or you can drink this horrifyingly gross liquid for 2 days straight. Shit your brains out, go through that, get an IV of propofol, knock your fucking ass out.
Yeah.
Get a camera inserted in your anus, check out physically and pull it back. Like you can do that, or you could take a poop test.
When you say it like that, how can you turn down the colonoscopy?
I will have to tell you, this was being my first one, this was literally the biggest non-event. It's like literally like absolutely 0% like what everybody's like.
I've talked to you about the show Letterkenny, right? The Canadian small town. They did a whole episode about that, right? And all these like manly dudes are like, look, it's just a medical thing.
It's a medical thing.
And I think it was a prostate exam. It wasn't even a colonoscopy, but every one of them was like, no. And then at the end, they're all like sitting in the office waiting, you know, and it's kind of, but like, I think that's it. I think that's and hopefully that's a dying relic of.
I hope
our generation, or even a previous generation. Like you can't do that because.
So it's a funny thing though. Is like you say, why would you made a joke like, oh well, then why couldn't you do colonoscopy? But here's the thing, like he said, right now today, the tests are really good, but there is no substitute for an actual light on the thing to show you
getting actual visual confirmation of something. Yeah.
Like, this is definitely accurate, but here's the funny thing. I started doing research into these tests.
Yeah.
And like some of these tests can test for like 100, 1,000 different kinds of cancers. Yeah. And so coming back to what we were talking about AI, now one of the other most human things is your health, right? Like maintaining that. And people who have the financial ability or the sort of educational capacity to be able to take care of their health in in a super high end way have a lot of options. And even people who are at the lower end of the financial spectrum still have better options than we've ever had, even though they're obviously very flawed.
Yeah. You
right?
know,
Like,
and that's, I mean, we've talked about that so much where it's like, hopefully as the technology advances, the cost goes down and it's more democratized.
Yeah, these tests are very expensive. But here's the thing, like when you get, let's say, 1,000 people to take a genetic test for 1,400, I think one of the tests was a 1,400 panel, test. If you feed all that into an AI, they just cured cancer somehow, like in a
within a short period of time.
You know what I mean? Like so like
let's figure out what all these coincidences are that we're kind of overlooking with our data.
And so now you've got basically like AI is solving like our truly like the stuff that we could as humans fix if we were given enough time and money. And the problem with today's world is that, breast cancer has tremendous survival rates now compared to how it did, but it makes billions of dollars a year. Like, I mean, it's like every fucking 5K and marathon and fucking,
Susan Corman Foundation.
I mean, it's fucking nuts. Like there is like a ton of money going into that.
And the awareness, the treatment, the development of cures, I think is worth it. But you're right. Plugging it into a computer, you can bang out more than 1,000 highly trained, highly paid doctors.
Right. Now that's going to take time to train the system up.
Yeah.
But that's where I was going. So this was a very big circle to come back to where I started this tangent on.
That's all right. I followed you.
That said, this is the new currency, right? Like there is somebody who's going to form a small team and they're going to huddle around feeding every breast cancer study into an AI that they're designing.
Yeah.
There's another group that's going to test bumper accidents for in the MVA system. There's going to be another one testing the migratory patterns of the bumblebee. And it's going to throw, I mean, everybody is going to have an AI thrown at them. And every fucking thing that we do, from bee excrement all the way up to fucking at the fucking physics of the universe, are going to be outsourced to a fucking much smarter being than us. And then so here now let's follow the bouncing ball. Keep getting a little weird, right? If that's the case, right? Let's fast forward 50 years, and all of astrophysics has been fed into an AI. Who's going to college to be an astrophysicist? Nobody.
When you can just get somebody with like baseline education,
correct,
to ask the question.
Yeah, like what if everybody's education in their school only consisted of how to think about better questions and answers? Like that was it. Like you don't actually have to know anything about anything. You just have to be a great dictation person. You need to be able to eloquently ask questions and think about how to craft answers into better answers. Like that's definitely an art form unto itself. But like, imagine how much unnecessary school goes in. I mean, fuck, how long does it take to become a top level astrophysicist? 20 years of school, 25 years of school. I mean, I don't fucking know, of school and practical experience, I mean, that would just never have to happen. Forget about everything else. Surgery. You ever seen that Da Vinci machine? That thing's already doing surgeries without a human.
Yeah, and that was kind of crazy because I think that was the machine that they first, it might have not been the Da Vinci, but there was another one that they literally showed every close-up of a wound or a surgical incision that they had video of. And it was absolutely amazing. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it's like sewing somebody
close up better than any surgeon.
Right. It's like literally sewing with the sewing machine. You're like, it's like the same stitch.
And it does it on its own, and it does it at weird angles, and it does it at weird, irregular cuts, and it doesn't get tired.
No,
it doesn't get tired. A bad day.
Yeah. No,
it doesn't have a fight with his wife and doesn't feel so good. It doesn't get sick.
Sure.
And as it sews people up, it learns.
Right. And then, and what's even crazier is it learns multiplicity. No, what's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, it learns, like if you had 100 of these things doing 100 different surgeries, they're all learning. Everybody's learning everything all at once, right? So like in real time, it's feeding up to a central brain saying like, we performed 10,000 surgeries today and have fully assimilated the new information from 10,000 surgeries.
10,000 surgeries. And look at that. That's not just at one hospital, right? That 10,000 surgery could be a network of every
Well, no, it's
practice.
like, it's like every, and honestly at scale, there's way more than 10,000 surgeries in a day, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then not even nationally, globally.
No, that's what I'm saying. Globally,
right?
there's definitely more than...
It's even, and every different procedure.
Correct.
And you show it how everything works. You feed all the previous data. It's not only doing that. I mean, they've already done these kind of like preliminary studies with AI where they loaded, every study they had from the 70s to 80s into AI. And they said, all right, now predict what's next. And it accurately predicted like 80% of what we discovered through our own stumbling on more data and the testing method. And then it came up with a bunch of shit we didn't know.
Interesting.
And that's the most amazing part, right? You go, well, now it's not just the 70s and 80s. It's been, another
well, now
40,
it's the
50
multiverse.
years,
it's the multiverse 70s and 80s. It's like what could have been invented in the 70s and 80s and was not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I've been, I know we've been talking about ways we can improve like the show or our own lives with AI. And it's funny where you start experimenting and then you have this one little thought. And no, not only has it already been figured out, like thousands of people have done it on AI. And you're not going to be the first anymore. There's never going to be a first.
Yeah, very rarely. Yeah. But so if I had, and what I love about this is like, I have my 23andMe data, my ancestry.com data, right? Like I feed both of those into my own, like what I really want, I'll be honest with you, is my personal AI that I can just bend at my own whim. Like I want one that I can have like lifestyle bucket. And I don't want to necessarily think if it's related or not. I just want to add shit to lifestyle bucket and say, you find out if this fucking is right or not. Like I just throw it into a blender and it separates everything out.
It
right?
gives you your whole ancestry.
But like if I put,
where everybody you're related to lives.
Right. If I put in my ancestry data and my 23andMe data and I say, go find me everything I could find out about my genome that cost under $1 to acquire. Cause a lot of these things are, really low cost.
Really cheap. Yeah.
Right. And under $5 and under $10 and give me a list of all of them. It would be able to spit that out very quickly.
Very quickly.
And then I can pick out the ones that I like and be like, hey, go and acquire these pieces of data. And when you download the data, download it and assimilate it all together. I want a fucking crazy, remember in what was that Endgame where Doctor Strange sat there and he like blurred around and he was going through all 4 million something variations of what could have happened. Like I want that. Like I want a thing that's basically like.
Well, I mean that's quantum computing in a nutshell, isn't it? Spinning in all different states at once, and you know.
Yeah, so like that's what I'm saying, man. Like that's what I want. I want to be able to just speak into the air in my office and be like, "Go get me." I want to be able to do a weird Google search with you, find out that there's a guy out there that'll test your 23andMe and raw data and tell you the chances of a hangnail on your left toe are going to be. And you're like, I want to know.
You said that. I'm not even high, and I had a high thought.
What?
Which is what if the AI gets so good that we're sitting doing something, and we tell the AI make a universe, or create it? Like what if we're in the AI?
Yeah, we are. There's a lot of evidence to support that we are in an AI.
We are in an AI.
Yeah, there's a lot of evidence to support. Yeah.
And we're just figuring out the thing that's looking down at us.
Oh man, dude, I just got into a conversation last week about soul families. You ever had this conversation?
Like monads, I believe I've heard them called.
Yeah, like you're the group of souls.
You're incarnated with a group. Yeah.
Right. I was like, Soul family, huh? Like, what is that all about? Like, so does that mean everybody you meet in the world? Look, figure this way. There's 8 billion people on this planet, right? When you're dead, you've had meaningful conversations with
a handful,
100, you know, 200. I don't know. Maybe it was 500. Maybe in your whole life, you were like super tight with 500 people.
A fraction of a fraction, whatever.
It's not even it's micro drops in an ocean. Like, it's like not even fucking like, you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe you travel and you just bump into the same group of people on each go around.
On each go around. You know, there's a Zen Cohen. I had a teacher who was pretty funny. Like, he was really quiet and you know never really got into stuff, but he was like old school Chinese. And on the back of business cards, when no one was looking, he'd write like a little Zen Cohen on it. And one of them was, "If I didn't know you then, how would I know you now?" Which is like such an interesting thought, right? Like we did this before. This is why we get along now, kind of thing.
Like, we've done this before. We have
like
been
here. We've bumped into each other more than once.
Yeah,
you know?
Right.
Like,
and that's like such a
infinite,
right. Yeah, and we get all dialed into like our own personal health just to kind of keep this thing going. Wouldn't it be fucking crazy kicking the balls if after this thing's over, we reunite with our spirit fucking tribe up somewhere in the ethos, and they're like, dude, what the fuck took you so long? We've been waiting for you for
you know, I kind of started trying this thing.
like fuck, man, like I you know, oh damn it, man.
It's so weird, man, because like even today, a patient who's you know, I mean, he's proudly Catholic. He asked me about my beliefs, and I didn't want to get into it. I'm like, you're not going to like anything I say.
Yeah.
You know, but
this is a toxic conversation for you, brother.
He's like, you know, and well, you know, he's like, oh, there's definitely a heaven and definitely a hell, and I'm like,
oh my god, see, that's tough.
So I'm reading this book about this neurotheologist, and I was like, oh, we're not even speaking the same language.
No, we're not in the same thing.
You know, and it's like, well, technically, he's got some interesting theories on reincarnation, and you know, and basically, it's just stored data that's just being passed on. And I was like, yep, that makes sense to me. You know, like, oh yeah, it's a you know, they plugged in the backup drive on me. Mm-hmm. You know, and I was like, somebody actually, I was in a networking group meeting last week actually, and they a lot of times ask me my opinion on AI or anything technology, but AI is like the tech du jour right now, right? And so we're talking, and he goes, you know what my biggest problem with AI is, and I think it's going to become its ultimate downfall. And I'm like, well, I'm intrigued, you know, like, tell me more. He's like, I'm a Christian, and as a Christian, I have certain beliefs about the world and how you should live in it. And an AI doesn't take any of that into account. And I think people are going to be very turned off by that. And I think the AI won't ultimately live because it doesn't take my spiritual my religious construct into consideration. And then he said, you know, it's biased. He said it's biased. Some people say facts don't care about your feelings.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
that sounds like that could have been kicked back in somebody's face right there, you know?
So I kicked it back in his face, but a little nicer. I said, here's the thing. Have you ever studied any of the Stoics? The Stoics don't care if you stab somebody in the face, like, and kill them instantly and leave their body rotting on the side, flopping around like a dead fish on the side of the road. None of this is anything. It simply happened. It's not good. It's not bad. It's not sideways.
Your reaction to the situation is not the reality.
No, right. Your reaction and your interpretation is not reality. What is reality?
Now, they do have ethics, so they're not going to just go up and stab somebody in the face. But
but
the idea is the situation happens. It's regardless of emotional outcome.
Correct. And I said, and I brought that up, and he goes, well, you know, we don't have to live like Stoics. And I said, but here's what I'm saying. You're not listening to yourself. I said, what you're saying is that we should bias our fact interpretation through your religious lens. And anybody else who has a differing opinion is biased, and that's the reason the way they have it. I mean, do you not see
Yeah, it's funny because getting back to this guy's conversation, I was trying to steer it as neutrally as I could.
Yeah, right.
And I literally said, I try not to have too many beliefs. I have ideas, I have thoughts, but the second it's a belief, it's very hard to change.
Yeah. No, that's a great way of putting it. That
my beliefs are wrong is pretty big, and I mean, I don't think we're doing this to bash Christianity right now, but when you talk to Christians, they think they're in the majority. I'm like, there's like 1 billion Muslims. There's literally 1 billion Buddhists.
Right.
You've got this white national cult.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And
it's not even true within it. I mean, yes, Christianity still reigns the dominant religion in the United States, but I guess the overarching point there, right, is that it was really illustrative. The interesting part of the conversation, there's so many things we could talk about how dumb that conversation actually was, but focus on the interesting part, which is that people, there is a faction of people out there that's objection to technology has nothing to do with anything other than it just shines a mirror on them and shows them how fucking
and shows them something that
some of these things are. Like, look, I actually don't believe that there's not, we'll call it God, whatever you want to call it.
There's something on the other side of
this. There is a collection. There's something. It's for sure not a heaven and hell. That is absurd and just beyond preposterous.
That is your gold star or your F on that.
Yeah, paper. I mean that's
what
just
that is. That's just stupid. To keep you doing what they want you to do.
That's just stupid. But like, look, it seems absolutely beyond comprehension that there's not a connection, a universal connection. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like it. And when Avatar came out, you know how they plugged their little ponytail into like the tree and and I'm like, yeah, see, like that actually makes sense. Like that, like, you know what I mean? Like,
I saw that in the Matrix.
Yeah. Like when you could just take your essence and plug it into the bigger essence, like what, like that's evolution right there. Like if we can do that, like that's fucking exactly what we need to do. And I think some people kind of get close, but I mean, I think that it's funny that we're not going to oppose these things for rational reasons. Like, all opposition to this is going to come from
it's going to be
from crazy people like
feelings.
This. Yeah. And I listen. I mean, bash me all you want, but I think it's absolutely instantly uncreditable if you say that, because I'm like, all right, everything you say from here on is obviously
that bias.
Like we know where this is coming from, and like honestly, I didn't believe in this with you on the first step, so all future steps are kind of like off the table. But here's the thing, right? Like, so we talk about from like going back to the health thing real quick, like, right, if I had a personal one and I'm throwing all this data at it and it comes back with like, you're 87% likely to have breast cancer and I'm a woman, I'm like, look, man, I don't have to believe in anything, God, no God, doesn't matter, to believe that this shit is accurate, right? Like, this is not like bullshit information, right? So I think that like we have to actually all sort of evolve in, like, think about just that, right? Like, I'm getting a major health prognosis from a fucking imaginary boogeyman, right? Like, you know, so you're not,
it's like one of the Star Wars doctors at that point.
Right. You're not, this isn't a real fucking
it's a robot doctor.
Yeah, this isn't a real fucking doctor. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing real about this, but it knows more than 8 of my doctors.
And it's consistent.
And it's
always going to be consistent.
And so I guess what we have to do, though, to like get past that is to just adopt a different type of lens. And I think that's where this conversation went today with like AI and humanity. It's like, you know, like you got to start looking at this through like a kind of a different lens, because our health, our existence, our cohabitation, co-creation, it all is going to like weave into this at some point.
Can I ask I'm going to ask a question relevant to what we've been saying, but kind of off track and probably bashing Christianity more.
Oh, okay.
Why is it when anybody brings up something that's going to be contentious, offensive, or just plain stupid, they start with, now I'm a Christian, so
right.
It is the religious version of, I'm not a racist, but
I know a black. My neighbor's black, but
I had a long conversation with the guy that does this, and he's from Tijuana, so I know Latin culture.
Those fucking spicks. Yeah, like
it immediately goes like super dark, and you're like,
wait a minute,
I didn't know. I like,
oh no,
I
can
like,
say
man,
that.
I don't want to be in that conversation. Like, that's not me.
Yeah, you're like, and then all of a sudden, they're like, oh, those dirty spicks. You're like, whoa, what are you? What? He's like, well, no, it's cool. We just went over. It's fine. I know a Mexican guy. He's like my neighbor's best friend's gardener.
Yeah.
Wow. So yeah,
we kind of wandered on that one.
Well, we did and we didn't. We did and we didn't. I think that the point here is that like we spend a lot of time, on this show talking about like basically discovery, right? People discovering new things and doing whatnot and doing with it. Like, then they'll build a device that, you shine on your balls and whatever, right? Like everything's, but like that's all like been based on like, okay, you do it 50 times. I'll do it 100 times. She does it 10,000 times. And like blah, 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 blah. But pretty soon you and I can sit on this show and just research in real time in ChatGPT. Hey, show me all the recent studies of blah, blah, blah. I mean, there's going to be like, the only rate limiter to this stuff is your imagination. And that's going to be like your own personal health. It's going to be like shows like this. It's going to be anything research related. And I don't know. I think, we've only had a certain amount of time to process that this year. Yeah. But like, I'm already sort of like, I'm going through the 12 stages real fast over here.
Do you feel like, I'm going to ask something and I'm going to probably need to redefine it.
No problem.
Do you feel like because we are more open-minded, we're leaning in on this where other people would be terrified?
Yeah, of course, because
it's even with the self-driving cars. First of all, I think public transportation is where we should be going. But with self-driving cars, I've got a computer that's never going to be drunk, never going to be distracted, never looking at their phone. Yes, there's some bugs, but that could be worked out so quickly and save so many lives.
Well, and it would sort of work with us. And like, here's the best part about like technology, right? Like one of my sort of tenets as a software developer, right, is like technology should work with you.
Yeah.
Not next to you or against you, right? Like, so like, when you look at the most like intuitive software things that you use or the most intuitive apps or the easiest for you to use, it's because they just work, right? Like there's no thinking about it.
Think about it.
It's super simple. The buttons are huge. There's very little, decision making. Like it just kind of knows ahead of time, if you will, like what you're doing, right? And AI will do that with absolute surgical precision, right? And so and it'll learn fast, right? Because this isn't hard to do. I mean, those advertising algorithms that we have that control our lives on TikTok and Facebook and everything, like those things learn more about you in 30 seconds than your mom knew about you in the first 18 years of life. Like this thing.
It's so scary.
Yeah. And so like, if that's the case, that's like the dumb shit. Like put that into an AI and personalize it for you. I mean, this thing knows you like nobody's business.
But that's once again, getting back to a little bit of the scary stuff. It's going to feed me straight, pure dopamine until I can't function anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be, here's things Tom loves.
Sure.
That
takes away that takes away that human element of interaction, because like if you have 10 friends and 3 of them are douchebags and like, you're a Republican and they're a Democrat or whatever, and you're just like sick of it's an election cycle, those folks get cut out. and you start hanging out with your top 3 friends that are either also a Republican or also a Democrat, and you start bitching about the other one. And you know what I mean? Like, and now all of a sudden you're like, oh, cool. I'm like hanging out with these same 3 people all the time, but man, they're really good guys. And like, but
because they agree with everything I say,
but everything I say is like, kind of like okay with them. So, it's like, and like I said, they go back to the metaverse comment I made a little while ago. Like, like, what if I had VR goggles and I'm in a room with 80 of those fucking things, and it's 80? Did I tell you I did parts therapy like recently?
No.
Oh man. We'll talk about that another show. But like I literally sat in a conference room and literally assigned parts of my consciousness to different seats and would get up and walk from seat to seat
and have the conversation.
and have a conversation between seats, and like fucking super cool. We should definitely talk about that. That's actually a really funky thing. But I feel like, you know, what if I walked into a room with 80 parts of me, like 80 different versions of my personality that I want to talk about? A finance one, a sex one, a marijuana one, an LSD one.
There was a show, and I think it was either late 80s or early 90s, called Herman's Head, which was that exact concept.
Right.
He had different
Holy shit, I forgot about
brain.
that show. Oh my God. What was that guy's name? Oh man, I know who you're talking about too.
And then there's a Pixar cartoon that's pretty much that too, where the girl like has all these little characters, and the sadness fucks up the core memories, and then happiness has to take her on an adventure to find these memories.
Yeah, William Ragsdale.
Yeah, I can't believe that I pulled that one out of nowhere, because when's the last time I've thought of that show?
Yeah, and Hank Azaria was also in that. I forgot about that. And actually, you know what? That was one of those, what's her name? Yardley Smith. That was like one of her earlier things.
Now I got to look it up.
Yardley Smith she's like a character. You know exactly who she is. She does a lot of.
She has a high voice.
Yeah. She does a lot of character voices for sure.
Yeah, she's definitely.
Yeah. No. Oh my God, I forgot all about this show. Yeah, but it's exactly like this, right? Like it's exactly like that, right?
1991 is when it aired.
I know. Jesus. I saw that. It's like crazy. It went off the air in 94, I think it said. But man, fuck.
Yeah. Oh,
so
man.
like imagine.
Well, that's a tangent, but that's
imagine that for a second though. Like let's say let's say I identified a new part of my psyche.
Yeah.
And I said, I got one that just wants to talk about Grateful Dead's Dancing Bears. That's it. So I just want to really dive into this topic. Like, you know, like you could create an avatar in a room that fucking knows literally everything there ever is known.
And it could look like dancing bears.
And they could look like a dancing bear. And like, here's the funny part. What if you could have a conversation with 80 different parts of yourself? I mean, I did it metaphorically in a room, and it was super fucking interesting.
Mm.
Can you imagine like just walking around a room being like, you know what? Hey, you know, sex one. I really want to get you involved with this dancing bear one, because I got a sort of crossover idea going on.
I got a weird little fetish.
Yeah, I got a weird little thing I want to like figure out, like, you know, like you could kind of like do stuff like that. And it is still technically sort of metaphorically, because these aren't real, but you could literally have stored separate conversations.
And that part of the brain is the reaction.
Yeah, correct.
It reacts to that, right? And then, that would be really cool that you could probably do some really deep therapy that way. If you could pull out those traumatic events and say, like, now we're actually going to look at them, but from a different part of your own psyche.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I think is kind of neat about this whole thing. Anyway, we could go off on this forever. I think that in general, I think it's just really cool. Like the data crunching is the only problem saving us from this cure for cancer or the cure for this or that. I mean, it's just crunching data and making sense of it, because somebody not so long ago told me that like said something that freaked me the fuck out. And it was everything that exists now on Earth for cell phones and 5G and, you know, nanny porn and, you know, fucking everything. It was on the planet when the dinosaurs were here.
Yeah.
And yet,
I mean, we didn't create any matter here.
Anything of that. Right. So like, so that means all the raw ingredients are here to at least go from Cro-Magnon, Neanderthal, like, you know, like old school fucking humanoids to now.
To nanobot.
So like, if we can cover that, let's just assume at a light assumption that we could double that. That also exists on this planet right now. And we just haven't gleaned the cubes sufficiently, as it were, you know, like. And that's kind of a fucking like, we need like a hit of LSD to talk about that one, you know, because
Oh,
You
maybe
know,
we should do that too.
yeah, maybe.
It's
So
a 12-hour episode, though.
12-hour episode. All right. So what do you get into these days, man?
Man, I just finished that business course.
Oh, sweet. How'd that wrap
and
up?
it was such an amazing experience.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
I can't recommend it to.
I didn't get my referral, buddy. You gotta
I sent you the link.
No,
I
you
put
did
you
not.
in.
No, did you?
I did.
I did not get that.
That's okay. I didn't win the contest anyway. But
yeah.
But yeah. So I am now shifting gears into finishing up some projects that I haven't been doing for a while. So I'm excited because a lot of them are in how we do things at the business. So it's putting the stuff I just learned into physical practice, and it's been kind of an amazing week to just make these little tweaks and go, oh, this will fix some stuff.
Sure.
So we're gonna kick the tires on some new stuff at the office. I'm pretty stoked about it.
That is great. I love it. I absolutely love it. I want to actually get with you at some point and talk about that because I'm actually curious about doing like something like that, and I'd love to hear more about the deeper dive on what you
do.
Man.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So
what are you getting into?
So this AI discussion is like, so that I'm like, my other business is web and technology and software and stuff. And I'll tell you what, man, it is funny how predictable humans are, right? Like, I mean, when something really cool and exciting comes around, people are going to talk about it like endlessly.
Everywhere, yeah.
Right. You and I get all geeking out on this, but part of the reason that I love talking about it is because like I'm desperate for a real conversation about these things because it's all anybody talks to us about. And I love it because I really do think this is the most fascinating time to be in technology since technology has been technology. Mm-hmm. Like it is absolutely beyond exciting to be in technology right this minute, right? That said, people have not changed at all and they have no idea how to handle this. And the conversations that ensue are in large order nonsensical. Like my Christian friend as a result, right? As a case in point.
And it's as it always is, it's those biases that get us,
right? And it's like what I really enjoy, like right now is looking for information there that's like factually accurate, that I can lay over some sort of predictive skills and technology that I'm either right or wrong on. But like, look, I mean, in any profession, when somebody kind of has a trend, they can make predictions. They're not always right. But, yeah. But like, I think I have a pretty good idea of where I think this kind of goes in the near term. And I think that is a more pragmatic prediction rather than a like hysterical prediction based on people's fears and biases that they're bringing to this party right now. And so like, I actually have really sort of just resigned myself recently to just be like, look, a portion of my day every day has got to just go to talking about this, either
to that rabbit hole. Yeah.
You got to go down the rabbit hole a little bit, right? Like you either have to talk to people about it or you have to look up new things or you have to play with ChatGPT and like kind of flex its muscles a little bit. Like, I'll tell you what, that thing about ChatGPT hiring TaskRabbit to hit the CAPTCHA button was fucking mind bending. Like, and
that
like,
is scary. Yeah.
No, but I've been looking, there's like 100 other examples right now about like AI doing weirdly similar stuff. And I'm like, yeah, like we have to already be over being surprised by this. Like you just.
Yeah. Everything seems to be like when they hooked up the two separate systems and within seconds they had their own language and they're like, oh shit, turn them off.
Yeah. But like, but that's the thing. Like we don't have any, like we just have to adjust. And I think this is going to be a weird adjust for everybody. But I think honestly, from a health standpoint, we're going to see a huge benefit in the health standpoint because either the answer to our health is true immortality or we are at the top and there's not a whole lot more to learn because
and we pretty much maxed out.
Like and AI will tell us that, right? Like I don't think we're at the top, but like there's a very real chance that like vaccine technology that like, I don't know, pick a thing. We've got a couple of these things licked. right? Like a couple of these things we totally have like under control, right? And so
Yeah.
if like what more does an AI bring? Maybe everything. Maybe this ends up being like an infancy thing, but my gut tells me that like some of these things are pretty far along, right? And like so
Yeah.
but once we knock out cancer, yeah, something else will come up. Like there'll be a cancer 2.0, you know, like for sure. You know, but like how long do those things last? You know what I mean? Then
Well,
it's the
and
cat
at
and
the
mouse.
speed the technology
Correct.
knows how to fix it,
Right. So now your
It's
cat and
gonna-
mouse game is like days to weeks, possibly.
not in some cases probably not even that long.
Right. Maybe hours to days.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, cool, man. Well, as always, thanks for the time,
Yeah.
and you know, we'll
good.
see you next time.
We'll see you next time.
There you go.
Be subversive, irreverent.
Health is wealth, but you knew that.
Everybody knows that.
But so is following us on social media at Irreverent Health. And check out our website for more exclusive content at irreverenthealth.com.
Oh, I like this.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Irreverent Health.